So it's July 14th, 2025 at 6:30. We got a special session for our budget workshop. We'll call it back in order. It is 6:30. We'll start with invocation, pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day. Lord, we ask that you be with us here tonight and help us understand the city's budgets, help us to make the right decisions. And we ask that you look over all of our citizens, all of our city employees and police department, and all of our emergency response team that's throughout our city and Hunt County. Lord, we ask these in your precious name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody got any announcements? No announcements?
I don't have any. Not that I can think of.
There's no citizens input that I've seen. We'll go right into budget workshop. Does everybody understand the information that we have here?
No.
No?
Tell me what the 25, 26 are working.
Okay, so the easiest way to navigate that is whenever you got a question, you'll see the number where it says 10-41, 34, 33, whatever. You call out that number, that way we can all go to the same spot to kind of understand what you're looking at, or where the question is at.
My question is, what is the column for 25, 26 working?
That is our budget we're working through. So these are the numbers we have that we are putting in for next budget year. So the requested is going to be this should be the same, unless there's been some changes today. But that's just what we have last saved. So that's kind of been my idea going into it. That can change back and forth, and then we can go back into once we go through the working budget, and I can show you up on here on the screen. The way it has it set up is we will have a working budget, then we will push it to be voted on to be the proposed budget. If there were more changes, we could bring it back up to working, make those changes, and then once we vote to adopt it, it'll fall down here into the adopted budget. But as the editing version of it is here, that is what I have.
So right now our current budget for 10-4002 is 5,000, but the working budget is 2,000. So there was a change made. I don't remember us discussing general fund yet, right?
So the 5,000 is what we adopted for 24-25. Is that what you're saying, the 5,000? Okay.
Yeah, so it's 2,000 what we're saying we need, and that's what we're calling our working budget. Is that's
correct?
Like a
yes.
number that y'all came up with? So.
Yes. Well, that's what FundView gave me, so I'm trying to adopt their verbiage.
Yeah. No, and I'm saying that number, not
yes.
the verbiage, just the number. So the lowering of that line item, there was something that caused us to say we only need 2,000 rather than 5,000.
I couldn't tell you really where we came up with 5,000 last year.
Okay.
But I was going kind of off trend of what we've got coming in this year.
And the only reason why I'm doing all this is for
yes.
bring-in purposes, right?
Yes.
To make them understand that.
Yeah. The only difficulty we have is we understand the concept of it. Is that some of these things are cryptic. You don't know what it is. Some of the descriptions.
Well, give us an example.
For example, CDBG funding. What is CDBG?
That's our grants.
That's a grant.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, those, if you can just tell us, okay, this is what it is, I think we can just go through it really quickly.
Okay.
So that's really the only thing we don't understand.
Okay. And with that one, that should be the same funding for
yes.
this next year.
So the reason why I don't have a number in there yet is because it's going to depend on how the money comes in. So the way last grant was different. This grant is working in. They send the money to me. I send it directly out to the contractor. So that's going to be up to you guys if y'all want to put the full amount in there for this budget year, or or we want to put a different amount. The 11.5 is what we've already used this year. There is another invoice coming before the end of the fiscal year that will be sent out. So the money will come in here, and then it will have an expense line down the line.
But is
For it to go
it
out.
guaranteed we will have it this year again?
I'm sorry?
Is it guaranteed that we'll have this thing again this year?
Well,
Yeah,
a
it's our
work in-
current grant.
It's a work in progress. It's already, we've actually had some votes on that. It's a work in progress grant for the water
Yes, it's
plant.
our big water plant upgrades.
So there will be no new money coming in, is there?
There will be new money coming in, yes.
That's
It
what
comes
my
in
question
phases.
is. There will be, right?
Yeah, it comes as it's requested, essentially. They don't just dump a big lump sum of money in the account.
Okay. So we'll have to make a judgment as to what we would put in there, right?
And the other question I have is, let's see, we have current year to date, and so do we extrapolate that out for the rest of the year so we can get an idea of what'll happen this year to make a guess at next year?
As far as income,
It-
well, any of them, yes. I mean, that's
Yeah,
on some of them that I see as monthly or as a normal occurrence throughout the year. I will try to average that out and project it out. Some of them are annually; they come in annually. Some of them come in different ways. So it just kind of trying to follow the trend and then kind of seeing where we're at. If that makes
Okay.
sense.
So we'll depend on you to let us know which ones are annual and which ones are monthly.
Well, I don't think this really, if they're looking at the paper, if you look at it on what you sent out, you can see, because it says revenue, right? You got a tab for revenue, you got a tab for expenditures. This doesn't depict whether or not this is income or expense.
So the way to see on this one, and you can see it up here a little bigger, is if it is the number 10, it stands for general fund. So no matter what, that's where you know what fund you're in. If it has a 4-digit one, that's going to be our income. And then later down the line, if you see, I'm going to just kind of go for
Yeah,
ease
got-
of purposes. Expenses is going to be like a 3-section number.
yes, basically.
Yes.
Okay. So these are all income then.
Yeah, this all this beginning is income, and on the
Yes.
second page, down a little past halfway, you'll see it goes into.
And you'll see I blacked out a section. That's kind of my dividing mark from revenue to expense. And I put totals along the way on that one.
Got it.
Do we kind of want to go down through the line?
So
Or
I guess that's the tough thing. I guess since this is a lot bigger budget than what we looked at the last time, it's harder to see the expense and revenue. We're used to, we had a column that showed expense and you know, it showed it there along
it was
the
all
way.
on a one
Right
page.
now, we're almost gonna have to take this and split it up and compare apple to apple.
Yeah, because it's hard to look at what you're gonna spend before you know what you spent.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know how we're gonna be able to do this.
It's gonna be very hard the way this one's laid out. Because we're not seeing them side by side to be able to make judgment calls.
Meaning which?
So
What-
in the past, our budget was $20,000. And then it said, what was it called? Current spending or whatever we've spent.
It was
Was
the
the
year to
next
date.
column.
Okay. Yes.
Year-to-date spending. And then the next column was where we said, okay, we were $20,000, we've spent $9,800, and you could do the math, 9,800 divided by 7, and that tells you what you're spending per month. We could add the rest of the year out, and that would say, okay, well, we're actually $4,000 over on this line, so we can pull 4,000 out of this, and then that 4,000 we would make note, 4,000 off of line 1, 2, 3, 4, and as we get down through there and we look at one and go, oh crap, we're actually 4,000 over here. Well, that 4,000 we just pulled out of 1, 2, 3, 4, we put it in 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
But we also had the prior year's budget and prior year's expenses.
Right.
So we were able to make a judgment call
Based off the trend.
based off the trend.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I can add another column in here to show 22 or 23, 24's actual spending.
Yes.
Because
Well,
I've got
and
24, 25's actuals.
It's either that or you tell us what your thought process was, right, on how we're going to be able to take this information and, I mean, having these tabs is cool too, but I mean, if you go to revenue, right, your first line is CDBG funding. And if you go to your expenditure for general fund, the first line is salary. So there's no lineup even. Even if you had these printed out and tried to put them side by side, there's not really a true 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
We would actually be going 1 and 8, 2 and 10. I mean,
Shouldn't there be an income column, an expense column, and they should be in the same pocket?
Not always.
I mean, but to me, it seems like that would be the easiest way to go through and say, we have an income that covers this, and here's the expense that was taken from it, and then we go all the way down and each one of them, we say, this was 23, 24, this was 24, 25, and this is 25, 26 proposed. That way, we're actually looking at what we spent in 23, 24, what we spent in 24, 25, then what we have so far spent in 24, 25 versus our budget, and there should be a balance there, because we also need to be able to see where we've gone over, or like Kevin said, where we're doing better.
Yep.
Because we need to be able to pull that money from an unused portion into a used portion. So the columns, kind of like we talked about, where rather than have them where all the income are at one and all the expenses are at another, let's do matching groups, right? So we've got the income and the expense, and the income and the expense, the income and the expense. Even if it just all comes out of, one specific fund, if it all comes out of that one specific fund, that's line number one where the income came from. And then here's all the things that we take out of that. And at the bottom of that is, here's where we have, where we're plus or minus.
Yeah.
But we could look at each line and say, okay, we did well here, we need to do better next year here, those kind of things. It's just impossible to follow. It's impossible to follow it from page 1 to page 7, just because it's difficult to know, am I looking at the same expense from a category?
So that brings up another question too, Mary. So you got one, so let's say a particular kind of income, okay? Some of them may have an expense associated with it. We can take the money from somewhere else, can we? So if, let's say we cannot, then just show that separately. That this particular income is $10, the expense is $8. You show it that way. But there may be some where you have a pool of income and then you have a pool of expenses.
Mhm.
But then pool them together and say, that's what he's essentially
Exactly.
saying. So
Yes.
that way we understand it.
No, I get it. So last year, the way it was broke down on our spreadsheets that we had, I had actuals for the past 2 years prior. I can try to pull that data and manipulate that data back into this again. It's just the way FundView has kind of converted things. Now, as y'all have questions, I can easily click through and I can show you the past 3 years actuals
Well,
up
that's
on
gonna
this.
take
That's
a
why I
long
brought
time.
this up, so we can dive a little deeper.
I'm perfectly fine with clicking through. What I really want to see is, I want to see the income line and the expense line together, even if it's on every single line that we have here, because I want to see where we do well and I want to see where we don't do well. And then I want to look and see if, it'd be really nice if we got this in a spreadsheet format that we could manipulate and, pull pivot tables from to be able to say, wow, we've done really well on X. We've not done really well on Y. And where can we budget better next year for X? And where can we make up that deficit with something like James is saying, where, if we're $12 instead of 10, we got to make up that $2 somewhere.
Right.
So, but if you don't have, if I have to do the math between the 2 pages, I don't think I can make sure that I'm doing the right math.
I got
I have to trust you to put the stuff in a way that I can read it, right?
Yeah, I think we'll have to do that actually, because otherwise we don't really have any clue. Or you could probably categorize things too,
Some are categorized,
some of them.
some of them are not. Some, for example, only because this is one of the most recent ones I worked on, court. There's a revenue from court, but there's not going to be a direct expense from court aside from salary or youth diversion. There's only a few expense items that go directly with the income item, but in general fund. Now, some of the other funds, they are direct in and out, and there's no questions about it. General fund is a little bit trickier because they're coming from several different incomes, different ways it's coming in and going out a couple different ways.
That's okay, give us the list of the incomes and where they come from, where it all comes from, and then give us the list of expenses and what those incomes pay for, right? And then what the actual expense is, and what the current budget is, and what the proposed budget is for next year, so that we can look at it and say, for example, postage,
Mhm.
right? That comes out of general fund,
Mhm.
right? But where there is no income to cover postage, correct? It just comes from the general money that we take in
Yes.
on water fees, everything else, right?
Yes.
So that line would be subtracted from it, and if we budgeted X number of dollars for postage, then we should be able to look at it and say, okay, the last 3 years, our postage has increased $100 a year. Then we'll be able to say, okay, we really need to put another $100 in for 2020, for 25, 26. And if we know that it's coming out of that income we have, and then we could take the specialized income that goes out or comes in and goes immediately back out, really not much we need to talk about on that, right?
Absolutely.
So, I think it would just make it easier for me to view it in a format that was, income and expense, side by side.
Yeah.
The income, where it comes from, and then where it goes.
Yeah, we have to do that, otherwise we just can't comprehend it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it needs to be, it doesn't really matter where it comes from, but the dollar, you need
Right.
a dollar amount, right?
Yes, it doesn't matter what,
But we also, I think we need to be looking at, like, this year, last year, and next year. Not just this year, but we have to be able to at least see last year. I wanna say we were actually able to see 2 years back this year, and then we budgeted for next year. Because then that really, I mean, that's the fairest way to do it, because then you can actually see, do we have a trend, right? Because if you only see last year could have been an anomaly.
absolutely,
Right.
there's no question.
But if you see the year before and last year, and you can say, okay, well, the year before, we were 43,000, right? This year, we blew that out by 79,000. Well, that was an anomaly. So we all talk about it, and then we all have an explanation. Yeah, because this happened, but we're almost, that's not going to happen. So let's just go with 43 was the last year, and then let's bring it up to 48, right? Increase it by 5,000. You've got inflation, you've got all these things, so everything's going to change in price. But yeah, I mean, my biggest question was, you know, when you were looking at this, what were your thoughts of approach? Was it going through and taking the information that we have and trying to look up there and click through that?
That was kind of my idea because for simplicity purposes, this is the format they already have without
And what is
extracting
this
extra data.
format that they're, I mean, when you print this, what is this being called?
This is the working budget. So, like, it is
Okay,
this
okay,
right
okay.
here
All right,
and
so
an Excel format.
working budget, which that means that tells you what you've got going on right now,
And
right?
it shows this fiscal year's actuals, and it shows the last 2 years' budgets.
And now I know this is new to us for this year.
Yes.
No, that's Bureau Veritas. Quinlan doesn't have funding, do they?
Yes, it is.
They do. Did anybody reach out to them to ask them how they pull their reports by chance?
Not this exact report. I haven't gotten into the details of the reports with them. We've talked about a few other things, but not with reports.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm a big advocate of whenever you're trying to do something that's kind of not normal for you or new to you. Man, if there's somebody that I know, I do it all the time. If I know somebody that's messed around with, let's say, a drive that we haven't messed around with before, I'll call them and say, hey, y'all know any tricks? Is there any tricks to tuning these drives, whatever? Because there always is.
Yeah.
somebody always has that, and guess what? I didn't have to bang my head, or none of my technicians had to bang their head on the wall, because I just called somebody that's already done it, and, their wounds are healed up from all the blood from banging their head on the wall. And I called them, and people, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll send you some stuff. So easy. So I would reach out to them, but what I would add to this is, unless I'm looking at things wrong, or I didn't check all the emails, we got this information.
I've been working on this throughout the day, so I sent those
Right.
to y'all
Right, we got
just
it.
a little bit ago.
Right, since
With the
we
colored ones.
most of us have been here, but then there was some information that was sent Sunday.
Yes.
Um,
The financial statement was sent Sunday, and I think
Right.
that's what you're looking at.
Right. What I'm getting at is today's Monday. We've got to figure out a way to get, because it's especially guys that are new to this. Now, him and I, we've kind of been around here, so it won't be as much of a shocker, and we could probably fumble our way through it. But for them, they've never been able to look at this stuff. And quite honestly, it's a different format, so it's going to even be tough for us, but we're not going to be as intimidated by it because we've already sat through several of these things. But for the rest of these new council members, it's already intimidating to the point because they've never had to deal with this. So it's all new water, right? It's all, maybe intimidating is the wrong word, but
Overwhelming.
overwhelming. Thank you. And so what I'm saying is this stuff has to be in the hands of everybody a little sooner. And I know we're backed up against the wall and everything that we do. But I'm sure you guys would love to have, and I would too, love to have some time with this to kind of digest it, dig into it, and possibly even ask questions, right, before the meeting. So that's something to think about. If we can try to get this stuff out to give people a chance to sort of digest it, look at it, study it, and sort of have a thought process, because that would also be fair to you and fair to anybody here with the city, because we can get in here, we kind of got an idea. He's already looked at this, he's passionate about 3 or 4, 10 things, him, and we can come in here and smack this thing out. So
But we still need that, simplified version, just like you said.
that would help, but what
Otherwise,
what I'm asking is I don't want us to just come here and look at this thing for the first time.
Right.
And make some quick, fast, in a hurry decision, and it not be the right decision.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
So
asking.
this is too important to
We're
mess up.
$217,000 short right now. Before we even start.
Right. But, if y'all want to, we said we would, vote now. We still got some time if we want to start kind of going through this.
There's a lot of numbers in here that are not going to be in there yet, because I don't have tax numbers, I don't have a lot of our annual re-rates, they don't start coming in until end of July, early August. So this is definitely not in nowhere, shape, or form ready to
Is
go.
there a number in there now, or is there just no number in there now?
There are several
mean-
numbers that are in there that are,
That's the
able
reason
to
we,
be
Like some kind of best guess, some
yeah,
kind of
absolutely,
educated
and
estimate?
yes, so that's why I've left, if I don't have a number yet, I left it from what it was budgeted last year, and likely it was probably budgeted near close to the year before.
but as Kevin said, if we have last 2 years, we'll be able to make a
Yes, and so
decent
that's
judgment.
why I pulled it up here to where we can click on it, I can even dive even deeper into something, so y'all do know. So for example, I'm gonna pull one that I know for sure has stuff that, okay, so for 10-4030, it is the FEC franchise fee. That's not a definite number, that we'll ever get, so it's one that we've kind of budgeted off of trend. So if I'm gonna look at this past year, which y'all have that one already, but I'm gonna click on it just for simplicity. We've got 78,000 out of a $100,000 budget coming in.
Right now it's 100,000, but remaining transaction. So what was it last year?
So the year before that was 97 out of a 92. So that is the reason why we increased it last year to 100,000, because we saw the trend going upward.
Well, it should go up because of the number of houses.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then if we're gonna look, I can go back and look as far as 21,
Because they
22,
pay a
that's as
franchise
far
fee
as
for
fund view
everybody.
converted over.
Turns on
So
electricity.
22, 23, there wasn't a current budget for it, and that may be because they didn't insert the budget, but we brought in 100,000. So the past 2 years was 100, then it was 97, and then currently, we're sitting at 78.
How is that paid? Is that a monthly?
Quarterly.
Or quarterly? So you'll get one more,
Yes,
which will probably make up the difference.
yes, and if you're looking
look
down
at-
here, you
yeah.
can kind of see our entries of it, so that's about what we're looking at there.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at, asking if we extrapolated it out, so this 78.6, that's for 3 quarters, right? And so we add another 33% to that, then yeah,
That's
that's gonna
100,000,
put us
100+.
about 100,000, okay.
Some of these things we can knock out today because those things, these are income. There's no expense coming out of those.
There's not, that one doesn't have a direct expense.
That's why some of those things we can knock out today. Since we're here.
Yeah, that one doesn't have a direct expense. That one gets filtered into the budget somewhere.
Right.
And then if you're looking up here, you'll see the working totals, and that is all of general fund. So here's our revenue, our expense, and then like Greg was saying, there's our difference.
Yeah, that I will lose. Yeah, I'm lost there already. We don't know what the components are.
So it looks like police department got put in, is in here as well.
Police department's gonna be in this one.
Police department's in here.
So police, court, code, administration.
I
pretty
was
well
just trying to
everything.
figure out if there was something we could pull.
That's, I was thinking,
Yeah.
police department, it's not spelled out that it's police department, but
I was,
I can tell that's police department.
which,
And
Chief,
I-
I don't know how much work you've done or preparation you've done, but
We've done a little.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. But, we could do one of two things. We could do that, or we could go through here.
I did court pretty
There was-
close to the end of court.
There were some things that I just real quick seen, like, gaming machine permits. If I'm correct,
We don't do them.
we're not doing them.
No.
So I
That's
don't
a
even know,
zero.
so I don't even know why it's on there.
We were told that we were at the service clubs.
Chief,
That's
Chief
why we
looked
left
into
it on
that,
there.
Chief looked into that, and the county,
The sheriff's department,
yeah,
takes care of all
the
that.
sheriff's department does that, so it's best that we don't.
There's
get
a
involved.
max fee set on those gaming machines that can be charged, and looking into it, it looks like they already charge the max fee. So for us to charge another one, I think would be a problem.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Which
that's
is why
why
we
we
turned
left
it
it
all
on
over
there,
to
is
them.
because that's what we were told, is we were getting it from the 3 service clubs. That's why, because we brought it up 2 years in a row.
That was the idea behind it, but he delved into it and found out that the county was actually exercising that,
And it hasn't been budgeted the past 2 years.
at this rate, if we got involved, we would become part of the gaming part of it, right? I mean, if we,
And for some of those $0 items, those have to stay in there for audit purposes. So I can't technically get rid of them out of the budget, they just stay there at zeroed out. So when we're doing our audit, they come across a question from whatever year, that item is still there for me to pull that data.
so there was, if you go to 10-4408 through 4411, those are items that I never remember seeing before.
And I can explain those, that is all
On page
court.
2.
What was it, 10 dash?
4408 through
08.
4411,
Yeah, through 44.
Okay.
I don't remember seeing those.
they were not on there. So what that is,
Page
and
two.
that's why you
Yes,
will
sir.
see in
Actually,
municipal court is
or
not
first
brought
page.
in as much
Second.
as projected. So it looks like the way we budgeted last year, pretty well everything was combined. That's how the software worked, that's how MCRS worked, which is what our court system uses. Now, our court system actually divides it out the way it's correctly broke down.
Okay.
So these are all part of our court income.
So that's stuff that we're gonna have to figure out a way to put a number to. But the only
And-
way to,
I put kind of my best guess to those already in some of those, but I wanted to explain those numbers to you guys first before I was putting more numbers in, if that
well, the
makes
ones that, the ones that I mentioned don't have any numbers. So
Yes.
That's why I was like, well, I don't know, maybe it's just in there for whatever reason. And then
So the youth diversion, I have, because I kind of just did a trend of what we had this year, and then I put 17 in there just for the sake of projecting it. And then the youth diversion fee, which is 4409. We don't have anything in there because there's certain citations that go to the youth diversion fee fund or fee. And we haven't had any of those citations that fall in that. I believe, and I'm speaking completely out of turn because I'm not up to date with the court stuff, is the youth diversion fee is when we have youth citations and that their fee, they pay a fee to have their youth diversion program, which is a brand new program starting January 1 of this year.
And then 10-01-5036, PD 2010 F-150.
That's an old number, old line item.
So can we pull that out of there?
Sunview recommended me not to for audit purposes. Because it was used several years ago, and for data purposes. I told them I wanted to pull out those zero items, especially if we haven't used them. They said that's definitely something that I would need to get with our current auditor, whether that, how many years past not using this line item before I could truly delete the account.
I don't remember how long it's been, but it's been several years since
Yes.
the police department has had that.
So they pulled the past 5 years, and that's where they got this data from.
50/30 also.
Oh yeah, we don't have any leases.
Yeah, so it's zeroed out as well.
Radar.
So last year I went through these and I kind of blacked them out because I was trying to get rid of them, and then it was recommended for me not to do that.
We
So
can
I
lease
left-
a postage machine.
Right.
Well, that may be the postage. I don't know. You said there's a machine. I remember seeing that.
So we've got regular postage.
Yeah, we only have one postage machine in the whole city.
There's one, yes. I think at one point they shared the cost between all the funds. I figured if it's all general fund, well, there's one line item, so for accounting purposes, it wasn't as wild and crazy.
10-01-41.
They're just old items.
It's just all zeroed out.
Yeah.
So postage is in like that, that's a great question. Postage is in several places.
Yes,
So I assume that that's by department,
yes.
More or
So,
less. the biggest one being the water department sending out water bills.
yes, we got water bills, we've got all code stuff that's sent out, but water's not on this one. That's on a completely different fund.
Yeah, it's on its own budget, but I mean, hopefully with our paperless stuff, that's changed somewhat.
It has changed some, yes. There's still being bills sent out and not many people are going paperless.
So how do we incentivize them to go paperless? I don't need my water bill.
What do we offer, like $1 off their water
The-
bill
Yeah,
or
you get a
something
dollar
like that?
discount, man.
That's, but 3 times 3, I have 3 water bills.
Could have went both that.
I could have. Why? I got a cold one sitting in the back of the truck.
So as far as general fund postage, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 departments. The 01 is police department.
They
Three is
prefer to
court.
do their stuff in person.
I'm sorry.
They prefer to do their stuff in person.
And I mean, are we
And not all
tracking?
these have been split
Mine's
100% accurately.
That's what I'm saying. Are we tracking this stuff to a point where we can actually put it into a budget, or is this just
Computer's doing it on its own.
throwing something against the wall?
Computer's doing it on its own, based off previous year's budget that's in there.
It can be tracked and broke down more.
In order for us to actually
We've
do
got
a
it.
budget, we've got to be able to track it.
Well, and right, I'm just asking how it got
Yep.
in there. So I mean,
How these requested numbers, it's just copying from the 24-25 budget year. That's just where those numbers are, unless I physically change them, and that's where you'll see if you see differences. I haven't gone into postage outside of looking at community development, which is Shannon's. We did discuss what she has spent and what she's kind of projecting, which is the $4,000. Admin,
one's
I
actually
haven't really gone and done the breaking it all down to figure out where everything goes. The postage machine lease no longer comes out of the police department fund. I'm not sure when it did because it's zeroed out, but it now comes out of the administration fund. which is the 08 number. Which I need to look into seeing why the lease, she may have that putting pulled somewhere else. I'll have to look into it, see why the lease is not actually on there. But by the time we look at it again, I'll have that lease where it has the right annual month on it, or monthly income on it for it.
So it makes sense to me now why it would be thought that this would be able to be used. But, I mean, and you could use it, because it says what was the adopted budget 2 years ago?
Mhm.
And what was the adopted budget this year? Not 2 years ago, I guess.
23, 24, and 24, 25. Last year and this year.
Yeah, last year and this year. But it doesn't give you any expense, so. I
That
mean,
makes it very hard.
without going into a whole nother sheet. But my question is this, so, and I'm just gonna randomly pick one. And if you've got what we've got, right?
I have what's on your desk.
Okay, so if I went to, occupancy permit new business, right? It was
Yeah.
2,400, 2,500. But what did we spend and what have we spent?
We have,
Without
That's-
looking at their computer,
so on this one, I have the 4044, right?
because the numbers, I'm asking you to teach me how to go find that.
Okay,
That's what I'm asking.
I got you. So you've got the new business one. So we adopted 23, 24, and 24, 25, $2,400. We have currently brought in $2,500, and so that's where that number really hasn't been changed because me and Shannon have to go through and look at some of what the entries have been because her numbers are not matching up with the numbers in front of you are matching up to be.
Right, but what the question is what did we spend?
That's
So
not
that's
an expense. That's an income line.
Right.
But if there's income, then we spend something
Okay, so-
somewhere, right?
Not
Want
for
me to
this one.
answer this one? Cause I can answer this one. So our permits are tied. When we have a new build permit, our permit covers the build, all the inspections, the CSI, and the
Okay.
certificate of occupancy. So what we take in on that permit, that's the income, and that's where that's coming from. The expense would be what we pay BV, which is also lumped together into one. Cause their
Okay.
fee to us covers all of that also. So where you see a huge number in mine showing an expense, that's BV, and the income is coming in through the permits.
Right, so what I'm saying, there's no direct expense line tied to the line that I just asked
Correct.
about.
Correct.
Right, but if we move down to 10-4-1-1-1, right, 4111, which is building permits, then there is an expense line there is an expense that's on that one. So where would we find that expense in this information that we have here?
Like in the same place, right? In the same.
And
the
the
same
same
Veritas.
talks
So
about your
you,
Veritas.
so I guess what I would like to see is where you have that $4,044, $2,400, and then you have the building permit, $45,000, you have the electrical permits for $2,000, plumbing permits for $1,500, and the fence permits for $400. That's a section. And then from that comes the subtraction of all of Shannon's expenses, because those two numbers need to somehow offset each other.
Yes.
Now, granted, I don't know that they always will, because we want to encourage building and development, but we need to look at it and go, are our permits maybe too cheap? Or, are we not covering the cost of what it actually costs us to do that business?
I got you.
So, and without being able to say, all of those incomes that are associated with building permits and development, and that cover the cost of all the inspections and the COOs, then we need to be able to look at those two numbers beside each other, and that's where we would make a determination that we are in fact charging too little for our buildings,
Or too much.
or too.
So you would like to see that the incomes are a little bit more departmentalized? Would that make sense? They haven't ever really been, but I can try to do that to the best of the.
I would like to see them grouped into what they pay for.
Right.
Right, so I mean, if they're associated with development and building, they should be in a group. It seems like we should have, this seems to me like they're all subcodes instead of codes.
Right.
So there should be maybe 5 or 6 categories, and in those 5 or 6 categories, there should be subcategories that are all point to that one area. And then the same thing on the expense side. And, you know, some of you guys are way better than this than I am.
Makes sense, man.
But, you know, that's, you know, I'd like to see the categories, the larger categories with subcategories, and then the same offsetting categories of expense, and then the offsetting categories, you know, under those. I don't know how to tell you what those are.
There may be
The-
ways to do it.
Okay.
Well, we got IT people out here, there should be ways to do it somehow, you know.
There
categorize,
is, it's just,
subcategorize.
that, it can be done, that's, I kinda wanted to departmentalize a lot of these incomes, but some of them, they just don't make sense, like the sales and use tax, there's not a direct expense for that.
And that's okay.
But
It
the
doesn't have to-
permits
yeah.
and stuff, can be
It doesn't necessarily have to
departmentalized.
have a direct expense associated with it, but it needs to be a set of income versus expenses. And then there are going to be expenses that are not directly related to, you know, they're not going to be directly related to an associated income. There's just going to be the general income that we get. It probably, you know, we have no expenses directly associated to the FEC franchise revenue.
Correct.
Right? But that's one of the largest lines in here. So that's gonna cover a lot of those things that are not covered by their direct counterparts.
Gotcha, yes.
You could combine them together too, you know?
Yeah, just
That way.
those that do, where you can match income against the related expense,
Right.
match it. And if you can't, if there's no match between them, then put those all in a group. Put all the income in a group where there's no corresponding expense, and all the expenses where there's no really direct related income, leave those detached. Or where we can compare income and expense, we really need to.
Yeah, you know, I mean, if you just look down here at the bottom, you know, there's contractor permits and specific use permits and
Several of them can be grouped
rezoning and
together.
variance fees and all that stuff. That really should fall under, you know, code enforcement or whatever we're gonna call that group of revenue. And then, you know, it's the same thing with the police department. They would have to, you know, they have revenue from citations and impounds and car sales and all that kind of stuff. That money, you know, to me, we have to look at it and say, okay, what are the things that we can, if they generate revenue, let's help build those revenues, right? And then let's help lower the expenses. That's how you balance a budget.
Mhm.
And so, you know, I just look at it and, you know, the tax roll's the largest number on here, and that number needs to cover probably 50% of our entire budget.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of cleaning up to do. Like Scarlett is on here.
Well, as I said, a lot of these zeroed out ones they're, like, I can pull,
I don't know what,
what I'll do
So let's have a
next-
category of no longer used.
yeah, I don't know what,
I don't wanna look at it.
2008, so 10/01/50/53.
I-
2008 Tahoe and equipment, $102,000. I don't know what.
I can reduce that by filtering out the zeroed items,
Yeah,
the
and-
$0
and,
items.
Like, I don't know how many pagers we have.
When we did the conversion, they pulled every account that was.
I mean, I'm being serious, right? I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying that, I mean, you know, I don't know how many pagers we have, but I don't know how much we've looked at this either to try to figure out how real this information is. You know, we've got to spend time with this to.
So Mary, even the categorization of these things, for example, this, you know, building permit, electrical permit, all those things. Was there a different way to categorize and say permits, you know, this category, and then we have sub categories in it. That way it would have made your life much easier, you know, to say, okay.
It can, all of it can be done, just hasn't
Right.
been done before, so it's something new.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, well, something's been done different than before because we didn't have pagers on our budgets.
It was
Scarlett, we removed Scarlett from our budget
Long time
2
ago.
or 3 years ago. I mean, there's a lot of things, I mean, I get that they took our old budgets, but you would thought that our most recent budget would have been their outline. So, I mean, if this is something Fundview did, Fundview kind of for lack of better words, threw up on your desk, right? I mean, and you should have something to say to them about it. I would say something. I would say, look,
Like I said, it was discussed and it was recommended not to delete the accounts. So I hadn't gotten to.
but what
actually
I'm getting at is it's crazy that they brought stuff back that was already been gone.
It was never gone. It was
Uh,
hidden
well,
or.
It was never showed to council.
Yeah.
For the
It
past,
was taken
for
off
the past few
the
years.
budget. So
I
maybe
agree.
somewhere in the
I
back
see new things all the time on it
where,
that hasn't been there before. So I don't disagree. I can, like I said, I can go through, I can filter out the $0 items, and that would clean that up, and that's probably how QuickBooks had done it prior to. And then I can look at seeing the proper way to delete those items.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, like Pager, first time for sure I've ever seen Pager.
Yeah.
Now, I have seen Scarlet. I remember we removed Scarlet from our budget a few years back. But there were just things.
Do you think it's okay to have them, have those things that, because it sounds to me like, coming from the software world, it sounds to me like they imported all this data into the database.
Right.
And when they did, it imported all of these line items that existed but had no had no
Well, no,
money.
the tough thing, what they did is they took, I don't know how many years back.
5.
So what they did was
Sure.
they took 5 years of budgets and loaded it in here. So all that stuff, all that work that we have worked towards cleaning things up, even when you did it last year, y'all cleaned a lot of stuff up last year. Y'all took a lot of stuff out last year. Probably some of this stuff we're talking about. A lot of the work that has been done over the past 4, 5 years, whatever, it all got undone right here.
Okay, back. I can understand why they wouldn't want the account deleted, just from a software perspective, because the history would go away.
Right, but I totally get all that, but I can't.
I think she can filter, she
Yeah.
can just
I
not,
just-
not display.
Even if there's just
That'll be able to
a
house
group,
it
even if there's just a group there that says no longer used, just the name of that
Put that
group,
there.
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
she
get it out.
can hide it from the report.
Yeah, just get it
I
out of
guess,
the way.
I guess I'm just kind of taken back that they wouldn't take our last year's budget and that would be our template. You know, why would we want to bring back stuff that was 5 years ago?
I promise you that question was asked several times, but
I don't know, I kind of,
Maybe look at last year's budget and maybe categorize accordingly or something.
I will tell you that our income lines have never been truly categorized, because I asked that question 2 years ago, I asked that question last year. I don't think anybody ever had to put the time together on, for example, permits, completely departmentalizing that. Certain things that directly affect the police department, those could be departmentalized. The only things that have been truly departmentalized are the expenses. So that's where you'll see the 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, 10-5. And even on income, even with QuickBooks, it was all listed, and then what they could broke down to the expenses, because I wanted to do it last year. I was trying to find a way to do it in QuickBooks, but I never had enough time to sit there and dig through it.
I think you could probably do that, just add maybe another
Like I said, it
character
can be
or
done.
something and say, okay, that's her department, this is his department.
man, I just felt,
Yeah.
last year we did a pretty extensive job on these 0 line items. I mean, we ripped a lot of lines out of this budget. Like if we had the past 3 years history of 0, 0, 0, 0, we're like, that one's gone. Get it the heck out of here. And because it was a waste of people's time, right?
Yeah.
And I want to say we cleaned like a few pages,
Yes, we did.
right?
We did.
I mean, we made this thing a lot skinnier budget as far as pages go. So I guess that's where I'm torn. I kind of feel like we're sort of spinning our wheels, but we've got to be able to see the history, obviously, but we've also got to be able to see the expense in order to make a judgment call of what we need to set that budget line at. I mean, there's no possible way. I mean, it would be like if your groceries showed up and nobody told you how much they cost. You don't know what to figure next month for your grocery bill, right?
So, would y'all like to see the past 2 years of actuals, or do y'all want to see? I
So
mean,
I think we.
the easiest through FundView is going to be 2 years. They didn't do too much beyond that. They did import all the accounts, of course, but 2 years of our budgets was.
I think 22, 23, 24, 25.
Yeah, 23, 23, 23,
Yeah.
24. 2 years, 2 prior years.
Yeah, 2 priors.
And then the current.
Gotcha.
And then, yeah, then we would need 25.
And then the requested,
I mean, I think that's the only safe way we're actually gonna be able to make a formal judgment here. Come up with these numbers.
do you wanna see what it was budgeted? Also, do you wanna see the budget, actual?
Well,
That's how I did it last
Yeah.
year.
Well, no, yes, you absolutely have to have that, and that's how it was, because if you just give the number, then it's like, you can't just take that number at face value, because did we blow out what we said? Or did we
Exactly.
just completely not even come close to it? Because if we didn't come close to it for 2 years, but we set it at 50,000 and we only used 25,000 of it, we need to stop doing that. Right, we need to use the city's money in the right areas for the right things. You know, you don't just keep budgeting 50,000, but you only truly need 25,000.
So you need budget and the actual, budget and actual.
Yes,
I thought that's the way government works.
it might be, I mean, well, we'll just keep moving, I guess. I'll just tell you, I was frustrated the first budget year I was here.
I think we're getting somewhere though.
No, we are, but yeah, the zero line items, that would probably skinny this thing up, right, and help you. But I would say you might scan through it and be sure that for some reason there's not one that has zeros right now, and just the data hasn't made it in there or whatever, because it may be a line item we need.
Correct.
But I can promise you we don't need pagers. Which I would almost go back to it.
But if we put them at the
If
bottom.
there was a possibility.
If we put them at the bottom of the page, that's when they go away. We could pull from the bottom of the page back to a.
Right.
Back
I
to
mean,
a-
if
to an
if
active-
we can make a zero category,
Inactive.
I don't know if you can do that.
I like through here when I filter this. The next time y'all have it, I got it to where it'll filter out those zeros, and it's just a zero requested, which means it had a zero budget from.
But I think what he's saying is don't let them disappear.
Yeah,
they won't. Yeah. No,
let's
they
just
won't.
have them inactive so that we
Let's
can.
have a page of them.
So you want to see them just at the
Just
very.
as
By themselves.
Okay.
Just in case, and that's probably best for you too, Mary, because if anything ever comes up, you don't have to go back and go, oh crap, did we hide it, did we get rid of it, where's it at? And I mean, I get it, if it's hidden, it's easy to look at the column and click it, but,
Before we finish, I know we only have a few minutes. I'm gonna go. I know y'all don't have this in front of y'all, but this is what we had last budget workshop to kind of go over. Y'all had questions on the occupancy tax fund, and y'all wanted to put 10,500 into advertising. So I went ahead and did that. It's not, like I said, it's not in here. Y'all don't have this page on there. But for occupancy tax fund, I did put it in here, under advertising. Now, we need to look at the deposits, of course, in hopes that once we do more research, we're able to bring in a whole lot more money on occupancy tax, where that would match up, because we're at a difference of 2,400.
When you say we're at a difference of 2,400, I can't see that far, so you're gonna have to
It's
tell me.
up here at the top, like, right here, so it's 24.93 even.
We have expenses, you put 10,500 in the budget for advertising,
Correct.
and we only have $8,007.
Because of the amount of cash we had in the bank, which was 74,000 at the time.
Okay.
Because it's never been spent. We never spend, not that I've ever seen the past 5 years, occupancy tax ever being spent.
But we'll catch it if we did what Kevin said, budget, actual, and we'll know, okay, there's a problem there, right? There's a $2,000 shortage, we'll catch it.
Yeah, because we should be able to look at that money that's in the bank, that's in a fund. If there's $74,000 there, and there's a way to apply that money to something that we do that qualifies as advertising or as tourism. If something qualifies for that, then we certainly should be able to pay the bill. Something that comes to mind for me is the 4th of July jet ski races,
Yes.
right? So that absolutely promoted tourism, was a great thing for the city and everything else, but there were also 15 trailers lined up out there using the electricity out of the park, right? So there was a surge in electricity use over the 4th of July weekend at the park, Could have been $200, could have been $5,000, I don't know. But that money definitely promoted tourism and in my mind qualifies under the hotel tax spend and shouldn't come out of the general fund or the park fund, which there's no money in the park fund, so so we have to pay for it, right? But that's the money. That's where we should be able to use that money because that absolutely promoted tourism to the city. But there's definitely an expense associated with the electricity, just the electricity at the park.
Right.
That's a hard cost, not a soft cost. That's people.
Yes.
And that one's easy to track,
Really is.
month over month.
Well, and you can look at those 2 days on Farmers Electric. It's amazing what you can do on their website, looking at the electricity usage by day. And we could take the average weekend with, no campers or with one camper or two campers or whatever, and look at the percentage difference and say they owe that percent, that percentage of the electric bill that weekend should come out of the hotel tax fund.
Finally, and then we had, just to kind of make sure I checked all the boxes from the last one. Y'all wanted research on the park special fund, on what we could spend it in the PD special fund. From the research I've gathered, the bank can't give me what exactly, or like, we can't find exactly what it was deposited for. They can show us the amount that, it was recommended that we use the park, just to make sure it's promoting the park itself. And then the PD special fund, John said he was gonna use it the way they had it previously done before. If that kind of gives y'all any other indication as to where that was. I didn't change the budget on any of those. Those are staying where they were. Like the PD special fund, it's always set at $800 for ammo and supplies. It's stayed the same. I didn't change anything. And then the park special fund had 2 expense items that we haven't used for Christmas in the park and trunk or treat trunk or treat expenses, and the Cabela's tournament. But the Cabela's tournament has had 0 across the board. But the past few years, it's been $200 for each of those events. So, based on the recommendations I've been given, I feel that we could be confidently use those for those 2 events, or we want to do something different for the park. Which currently there's $6,500 in that account, growing interest only.
When you categorize them, use your best judgment and categorize it that way.
I think that would be really helpful if we do, when we're doing these groups, if we could see that there's these amounts in the bank already, there's this positive balance for the park, or there's this positive balance for the police department, or there's this positive balance for each group. And then we look at what we're budgeting for it for next year. If we have and I don't want to call it a surplus, but we have an existing balance.
Okay, so your balance is created within each line item. So there's really not a reason to try to, I don't want to say complicated, that sounds wrong, but if we can get all these lines in here with previous year's budget and expenses, current and expense, we can accomplish what you're talking about. I don't think we need to make it so complex that we start trying to make all these different groups, or try to, what we would do if we were in there and we're trying to make the tables on ourselves, right? I see where your mind is going on that, and we're gonna have that information. Now, it doesn't matter how much money's in the bank right now, it doesn't even matter. As a group, and it doesn't even matter at all, right? What matters is how much we've spent, like, on repairs in the park. How much did we budget for the repairs in the park? And what did we do the last 2 years in the same case? How much did we budget, how much did we spend, budget, spend, right? That's what if you see that, I think if you've seen that, you wouldn't even be having to.
I think that's what we were
Think
talking about.
about it, yeah.
We want to see the expense.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if we take it and we recreate this, I mean, I'm sure it can be done, but you would have to recreate a report, and you'd have to take and really delve into this thing and pull all these different things into their own groups, which they sort of are in their own groups. The PD is in its own group.
Some of them, what he was talking about, for example,
Some
The
of them
permits.
were created somewhat together, but they're not, as far as the income, they're not all together. So the way these accounts were written, and then you can go through the top several, and those are going to be kind of grants and I don't want to say the word miscellaneous, but other income items, whether it's bank interest. I took out the carryover because I wanted to, and I know it says fiscal year 17-18. I took that out last year, but it came back with that on there. It just needs to say carryover. And then, so in some of the other ones, then you've got, the older the accounts are, the more to the top they became in FundView. That's how they grouped them and gave them their account numbers. It was not whether, and that may be some of the confusion that you're seeing is last year when we had these account numbers, they were somewhat grouped together, and then when it converted over to FundView, they kind of just gave them their own account number. And so then they're grouped chronologically.
I still like to see some kind of grouping, see building, for example, building permit, electrical permit, and those kinds of permits. All should be together, and then the expenses should be, so that way we know if it.
And while I fully understand what you're saying about if I can see those numbers, for example, there's $10,000 in the park fund in 2025. In 2025, we only spent $5,000. That $5,000, if it didn't get pulled and put in some other budget line item, where does that $5,000 go in 2026?
It goes wherever we move it.
What I'm asking,
But what I'm saying is you're going to see every single expenditure line for this entire city with a budgeted, the expense, budget, expense, budget, expense. That doesn't mean that it's going to be broken down to where it's everything for the park is right here, right? And everything for permits is right here. You may have something that's a park expense, but really and truly, I mean that's how it's always been. The park had its own little budget, right? Are we still doing that?
Yes.
So it's all going to be on its own little budget.
I'm just trying to see
Right.
while we're sitting here.
So permits is in its own section.
Sure. Yeah.
Right, it's in its own section. And so, but to the defense of that, fence permits, there's no expense.
right?
Right? Culvert permits, there's no expense. Pool permits, there's no expense. What am I missing? Give me some more permits. No
Electrical.
expense.
Building.
Some
No,
accessory
electrical,
buildings.
so electrical permits, there's
Cool.
some expense, because there are one-off electrical jobs that happen in our city. There are one-off
Yes.
plumbing jobs that happen in our city. But
There's not a
if you're-
lot.
there's not a lot, because if you're building a whole house, all those permits are
That's how-
included within your one permit fee. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So those are kind of hard to skew because
And I'm not saying break it down that tightly, that abruptly. I guess what I'm looking at is, I guess what I'm asking is, if we have the money, if we have $10,000 in the budget, but there is $74,000 in a different, in the hotel tax account, how do we show in 2026 that we want to use some of that money?
The money that's just sitting there that's not in our budget. We
Right,
didn't know how
because
to
she
spend
said there
it.
was $6,500 in X for and $800 that hadn't been spent on the police ammo and whatever. How do we show that we're
So-
spending that money
Right, I
that's
get
not
what
in
you're
the
saying.
budget?
well,
If we budget $1,000 and we have 1,800 to spend, it looks like we spent $800 over budget if we spend that $800 too.
well, you would be spending over your budget.
That's my question. How do I account for that $800 that's here from
So-
last year
Then you
or
put
the
it
year
in carryover.
before? If there's a budgeted amount, if there's
So,
and maybe I'm making this way more complicated than it is,
Okay, so
but I'm
if
thinking
you
about my
have-
bank account.
Here's your
Ours
problem, what
just
you're
shows
gonna
what we
see,
expect to bring in
when you
and
start
send out
looking at
that
actuals
deal, right?
versus
So
budget,
he said, how do
actuals
we
versus
show what we
budget,
have and what
there's
we
gonna be a
carry?
lot of the actuals that are zero that shouldn't
In
be
an
because
overall
it didn't get
carryover,
categorized
or-
right.
Just that category carryover.
Okay.
So where
Because
it might
franchise
say
tax
we
is
spent
going
$10,000 on fuel, $4,000
That's what
might
I'm
have
talking
got put in here some other way.
So, I'm sorry,
And it
not
really
franchise,
didn't.
hotel motel.
Well, what happens?
That's
is
probably a
you
different bad
have-
example,
You
but
have fuel for water, you
Okay,
have fuel for sewer. What happens
He's
is,
not
Same truck.
it only gets coded
right.
on sewer, so it looks like, right, so sewer goes, or water, whatever, and so the water budget gets blown plumb out of the water, no pun intended. That gets blown all the way out, and sewer never gets touched, but in reality,
They share,
they're
yes.
one and the same. And at some point, I think we changed that, but I
Yes.
didn't.
We did.
I
We
bet-
were working
I bet it's
hard
not
towards-
changed now.
We were working hard towards making sure that
It was.
those budget line items were
But I think
used.
if we can get the information that we're asking for in the fashion we're asking for, it will give you what you're
Okay.
asking.
Okay.
It will, because your park's gonna say 2,000 for repairs and maintenance. It's gonna say this for that, and it's gonna add up to a whole amount of budget, right?
Mhm.
Your budget will end
Yeah, I
up
was
being
gonna,
$20,000.
I have an answer.
Even though that $20,000 won't come from the revenue part of the fund, some of it will come from the money that we have
So,
in hotel tax.
can I explain something? It might simplify it. Okay, so hotel motel is in its own fund. It can only be spent out of its own account. What hasn't been spent, we could, to clean it up, for lack of a better word, we could put that into a carryover account for that fund only. So then you see, okay, we didn't spend the $800 from last year, so we're going to move it there and then budget only $800 this year. So then you see the total balance if you wanted to do it that way. Has it been done that way in years past? No. But it can be. I mean, anything can change. I would clean it up. That would probably make auditors a lot happier, CPA even better. For
I'm
that
just amazed that
purpose.
CPAs haven't looked at us and said, holy cow, what are y'all doing?
No, not that I've experienced, but that would be kind of the you could put that there. We could do and I don't know that it has for in here. It doesn't have one. I can create one that says carryover. I can put the rest of the bank balance in there. It shows how much is there.
I will look for the reformatted
Yep.
document and work from that.
Okay.
But somewhere or the other, we'll know the income and the expenses, some kind of an association we can see, right?
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's what we have to have. I mean, there's no way for us to give a number, so we're gonna have that and move forward. I would say if we can't figure out that by Wednesday for that meeting, then we need to call that one a wash.
So we do have other things on Wednesday, so we can. I'll let y'all know by tomorrow if I can pull that data together for y'all can see it, and I'll send it to you tomorrow.
So anyway,
But I can get it online and I can look at it from the beach.
so yeah, we have went 8 minutes over. We told ourselves we're gonna give ourselves an hour if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So,
I make a motion
for number 7.
for number 7.
no, he's got citizen input,
Oh,
I guess.
did you write it down?
No, was I supposed to?
Well, I mean, I asked for citizens input earlier,
Yeah, he did.
but, yes, sir.
Okay.
Sure, I mean, if you got a sheet for him to fill out, I mean, I don't wanna,
But if you want to,
Yeah, I don't wanna leave anybody out. No,
fill this out. You can.
yeah, because number 6 was budget workshops, and number 5 was right after we asked for announcements. But, sure, you can fill that out after the fact.
Okay.
Go
I
ahead.
just want a copy of the budget and historical income and expense as a citizen, whatever is available to me. And I was just curious about who you were using for planning and analysis for your budget. Was it just everybody in this room? Do we ever consider consulting? Just random questions.
Unfortunately,
But yeah, we're out of time.
well, no, unfortunately, we can't ask questions or answer questions that are asked of us during this format. I'd be more than happy to talk to you after we get outside, if you would want me to.
He made a motion.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Who called a second?
Ramsey,
Judge Kobe.
Ramsey Lindsay.
Greg Sprinkle,
Dave Shen.
Christopher Judge.
and they're all in favor. Make sure y'all get his, sheet, where we stay legal there.
Some clarity in your process, that's good. Very good.
I'm learning
Got
a lot.
Gotta have clarity.
I'm learning a lot.
Oh, you know, man, you know, man.
It just keeps us legal.
Without clarity, you don't do it.
Mary.
You know, substantial.
Stop that.
That is